Thanks for the warm introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great time this week at the conference. It's been a great lineup so far and an honor to be joining. So my name is Philip Wiley. I'm the lead curriculum developer at Point3 Federal. So as I said, I'm the lead curriculum developer at Point3 Federal, adjunct professor at Dallas College. I teach ethical hacking and application security. I'm also the founder of the Pwn School Project, which is a educational meetup that meets twice a month. And we also have our content available on YouTube for past conferences. So feel free to check us out there. I'm also a freelance pen tester and red teamer, and I'm the author of the Pen Tester Blueprint, which is a book on becoming a pen tester. So overview of my talk, I'm going to cover my offensive security career path. What is offensive security? Offensive security domains, red team intro, red team tools, red team blueprint, and resources. So we'll get down to even telling you what to do if you want to become a red teamer. So my offensive security career path started as a system administrator. Did that for a little over 6 years, moved into network security, and then a year and a half into that, we had a new CISO come into the company, and he moved me over to a newly formed application security team, and that's where I learned about pen testing. So in 2012, our company did away with the mortgage division where I worked. And so I got a new job. I went to work consulting as a penetration tester. So that's where I got my start. I worked as a consultant for the first 5 years of my career. And then I went into working for companies, got tired of all the travel. So went to work internally as a pen tester for companies, and then eventually a red teamer for a large global consumer products company. So what is offensive security? Offensive security is assessing security of a target using adversary techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, as is commonly referred to. This is commonly known as ethical hacking. The offensive security domains, we've got really two main domains here, but the pen testing domain kind of breaks it down a little further to show all the other targets that can be tested using offensive security or pen testing. So you have networks, applications, cloud, social engineering, physical security, hardware, and this includes like IoT and medical devices and vehicles. And the second domain is red teaming. So we're going to go into the differences between red teaming and your traditional pen testing, give you an overview of the different areas of offensive security. So red team doesn't equal pen testing. Over the years, it's been generalized. People refer to the defense as blue team and the offense is red team, but it's really a little more detailed than that, the red teaming. So the terms are used interchangeably, and there's a distinct difference between red teaming and pen testing. So commonalities. So red team and pen testing, you see they both use exploitation, social engineering, phishing, which is part of social engineering, and physical security exploitation. These techniques can be used in either one. So the differences, so you see the differences here. Red team, you have threat actor emulation, detection avoidance, and a less restrictive scope, meaning that most cases social engineering is in scope. A lot of pen tests don't include social engineering, so it's more of a what they refer to as an open scope pen test, meaning that, you know, as mentioned, other things it's less restrictive, and more things are in scope, like social engineering and physical building assessments are contained in that. Before PCI and some of the other compliance regulations, pen tests were more open scope, and now because of compliance, companies focus more on their products or environments being compliant with different rules and laws. This is where we kind of got away from that. So you kind of need that. And that's why companies are starting to get back to that. So pen testing, no threat actor emulation, you're using the tools and techniques, but you're not trying to avoid detection. And it's more restrictive and it's vulnerability focused. So with a pen test, you're trying to find every exploitable vulnerability. With a red team engagement, you're trying to find the vulnerabilities that can be exploited to cause a breach. So simulate what a real threat actor would do. So tool commonalities. So you see the tools are pretty common here. You have Linux platforms, Windows platforms, Linux-based tools, Windows-based tools to do your attacking with. And you have Metasploit on both of these. Vulnerability scanners under pen testing, because you've got a limited amount of time to get your testing done. You're not trying to avoid being detected. So you use vulnerability scanners. In red team operations, you're avoiding vulnerability scanners because you don't want to be detected. They both use malware and exploits, and they both use command and control, although there is a bigger focus on command and control in your red teaming. And with the red teaming, there's also, you'll see more custom malware and exploits compared to a pen test. So red team intro, scenario-based security assessment simulating threat actors and even simulating specific advanced persistent threats or APTs. The goal of a red team operation is to simulate real-world breaches. Not only is the operator testing the security of the technology, they are testing the people and the processes. A good quote here from the founder of Dallas Hackers Association: the red team tests the blue team. So you're not only testing the security, you're testing the response time of the incident response people. You're testing the technology to see, beyond if it's vulnerable, are you being detected? So these are important factors in a red team operation. So red team operations take more time to plan and perform than pen tests. Red team operations rely heavily on OSINT, open source intelligence, to enumerate information on target technologies employees. Employees are leveraged through social engineering and phishing to gain an initial foothold in the target environment. So your red team operator, like a malicious actor, is going through social media, LinkedIn, trying to collect information on people within that company, even the company website, to target. They'll send them like a malicious email with a payload, and if the victim clicks on the payload, then the attacker or the red team operator gets access to that environment. So that's typically where the initial foothold comes from. So detection avoidance is very important. To be successful in red team operations, we're impersonating threat agents, so this is very important. So red team operations rely on malware and payloads to gain initial access footholds, like I mentioned, delivery through email. Evasion and obfuscation is very important for malware success. The endpoint protections get more advanced and catch things, so it's up to the red team operator to make sure they're not detected by obfuscating that exploit code in that malware. Command and control is an important tool used to control compromised systems, deliver payloads, elevate privileges, lateral movement, and use for persistence. A prime example is Cobalt Strike. If you're using Cobalt Strike in an environment, I've experienced this where you've installed malware on the target system, and for some reason you have to reboot your system. Some cases you'll connect back. So persistence is kind of good. You don't have to constantly exploit a system. So just like real world attackers, red teamers want to be able to maintain persistence. And planning for red team operations. Planning red team ops can be very detailed and mapped out to specific APTs from the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and using tools like Vector. Vector is a great tool that has listed all the different MITRE APTs that you can map your operation to, and you can actually, once you go through, you map that out and manage your project using Vector. Red team ops can be less complicated and not mapped to specific APTs using common TTPs. So you can use different hacking techniques and tools and procedures and just kind of piece it together different than a specific APT. Sometimes this can be less involved because you're not having to go through mapping out to specific APTs, or it can be more complicated. You're just trying to be creative, trying to use different techniques to get into a network or an environment. So additional benefits, a major benefit of red teaming is testing the people, process, and technology, as we mentioned in previous slides. During the operation, if the activities are not detected, the red team can work with security to tune the security defense systems to detect malicious activity. And this can be extended to purple teaming. So purple teaming is where the defense and offense work together to see if certain things are being detected, trying to run malware, different types of scripts, and seeing if the endpoint protection and the defenders are able to detect them. And this is a good way to get your security mature in a quick fashion. Doing your vulnerability scans each month or every few weeks, doing your pen tests, it's kind of hard to cover a lot of pen tests very quickly, but with red teaming, you can go through and be able to see if certain types of techniques can be detected and tools so they can be blocked. So this is a really great way to knock certain things out of the tool set of an attacker. So making sure that, PowerShell cannot be, ran by someone that's not an administrator on a desktop, making sure certain tools cannot be ran by an attacker during these purple team exercises. But becoming a red team operator. So popular thing about my talks, this in the Pentester Blueprint, is that people are interested in what it takes to do a certain type of role. And to become a red team operator, you need to build the base. So you got your two columns here, your technology basics, your pen testing, hacking, and programming and scripting. So these first two are really important and must-haves. So your networking, your operating systems, and Active Directory. Active Directory is very popular because most of your enterprise environments are running Microsoft products, and they're using Active Directory for authentication and access controls. So that's a big target. So if you get enterprise admin or domain admin, then you get a lot of access to different resources in the environment. So that's a big target for red team operators and malicious actors alike. Operating systems, you need to understand operating systems from a sysadmin level and be able to understand networking. So once you have those technology basics down, you have to understand hacking. So you need to learn how to hack using different tools and techniques, and also programming and scripting. Scripting is something you need to at least be able to modify scripts and ideally be able to create your own scripts and even write some of your own code. Some popular scripting tools are Python and PowerShell, and then your popular programming languages that are good for offensive security is Golang, C#, C, and assembly. Golang is a nice one because it's portable. You can compile on one system and install on another, so it doesn't have to be a like system. You can compile in Go on a MacBook Pro to run on Windows or Linux, and vice versa. So it's nice to be able to compile your code, not have to install certain operating systems to do that. So we do that a lot as attackers. If you upload code to a system and it's Linux, then you're having to compile it on that system. So Go, you can compile that ahead of time and then upload it and not have to compile on the system. So red team focus skills. So malware and exploit development, be able to obfuscate and evade endpoint protection. So as you're working with this, is not only, development, this is some of the modifications. So there could be different exploits and malware you're working with. It's something you wrote previously or some other tools that you're using that someone else has written. You need to be able to go in and make sure to obfuscate that code to make sure it runs on your endpoints to avoid detection. So that's, as we mentioned before, going undetected is very important. And so Active Directory exploitation. So we mentioned this in the hacking skills, but this is even a bigger deal in red teaming. Command and control. As we mentioned before, this is a good way to deliver your exploits, getting those payloads to the endpoints, maintaining persistence, doing lateral movement. It just makes things a lot smoother and efficient for a red team operator compared to life before C2. And then phishing, social engineering, and physical security exploitation are great skills to have. So becoming a red team operator continued. So the learning paths here. So we've got the learning path for becoming a pen tester and for red team skills. So you have to have the pen testing skills to be a red teamer. It's an extension or a specialization for pen testing. The people will work in pen testing for a while, or they can even do red teaming at the same time, but you need the pen testing skills. So courses like the OSCP course, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me are good environments to practice your hacking skills, to learn how to hack. OSCP, whenever I first became a pen tester and you had to run vulnerability scanners and knew Linux and the technologies and knew some tools, but I didn't know how to hack. So I had to take the OSCP to learn how to hack. And so social engineering is important as well. And this could be your phishing emails to you're actually phishing where you're calling someone on a phone to get them to connect to a malicious site that you can collect information from them, like their credentials. And so for red teaming skills, Pentester Academy, the Red Team Labs is a great place. eLearn Security, Penetration Testing Extreme. It's labeled Penetration Testing Extreme, but it is a red team course. Hack the Box Pro by Rostamaus, and also 0 Point Security, Red Team Ops, which is created by Rostamaus. This was something he started after the successfulness of Hack the Box Pro. And I'm currently going through that course. I really highly recommend it. They have an environment in place. You send emails to the clients, try to get them to click on it so you get your initial foothold into the system. And so certifications. So for pen testing, you have the offensive security certifications, the OSCP, OSCE, OSWE, and you have the SANS certs, the GPEN, the GXPN, and the GWAPT cert. And eLearn Security, you have your professional pen tester certification, the Pentester Extreme, and their web app pen testing course, which is a good one to have those web app pen testing skills for red teaming. If you come in contact with any web servers or anything running HTTP, it's important to have those skills. So 0 Point Security, their certified red team operator cert is a good one. That right now is very popular and was hard to get on the list. They expanded the capacity of their training environment, so it's a little easier to get signed up now for that. Pentester Academy, as I mentioned, the certified red team expert. That's a certification out there that's an option. All of Pentester Academy stuff is really good, so it's a good place to start learning pen testing and advance to Active Directory attacks as well as red teaming. eLearn Security, their certified Penetration Tester Extreme is another certification. And resources. So when you're planning your APTs, MITRE and Vector are good resources. Command and Control, the C2 matrix has a list of different C2s out there. Some examples are Cobalt Strike, Silent Trinity, Empire with the Star Killer, which is the web front end to that, and Damios C2 is a fairly new one. It runs on Go. It was programmed in Go, the language I'd mentioned. Operating systems, Slingshot Linux from SANS. This is made specifically for red team exercises. And then you have Kali Linux, Parrot OS, Commando VM on Windows. These are distributions made for pen testing that can be used for red teaming. Courses: Hack the Box Pro Labs by Rostamaus, Pentester Academy Red Teams Labs, and Institute.Sector7. This is a pretty good course. I've went through their courses. They've got courses on red teaming, malware development, obfuscation. They're constantly adding new content to it. So it's a really good one to add to some of these other courses that don't cover the malware development. So this is a good way to expand upon that, and it's very affordable. eLearn Security Penetration Testing Extreme, SpectreOps. So these are all courses that are highly recommended. SpectreOps has their training. 40 North, Silent Break Security. These are very well-known companies in consulting in pen testing and red teaming. They have some good courses there. SANS has their red teaming course, and Cobalt Strike has videos and content on how to use their tool, Cobalt Strike. And if you go through the SpectreOps red team training, if you have Cobalt Strike in your environment, you'll learn how to use Cobalt Strike through that class. Resources: here are some blogs. Red Team Journal. It's one of the older ones. It's still out there. It hasn't been updated in a while, but it's really good information on red teaming, and it's a good place to start. Red Team Guide is also a good place to start. It has not only tools and techniques, it shows you how certain documents needed for red team operations and different types of things managing red team operations. That's also part of the threatexpress.com is one of their sister sites that contains similar information by the same authors. Bite Bleeder's blog is a good one. He's the creator of Crack Map Exec, which is a hacking tool that's used to pass the hash and do password exploits with. Harm Joy from from SpectreOps. He's got a really good blog out there. So does BC Security. They are the maintainers of Empire. They took over PowerShell Empire. PowerShell has gotten to be more detected. So the other creators, or the actual creators, quit supporting it when it went, and then BC Security updated to Python 3. SpectreOps blog is good. Rostamow's HotSec, Silent Break Security, 40 North Security, iRed.team is a good one, and vinceatu.com. And so books, there's not a lot of books out there on the subject. There's a lot of pen testing books, but red team specific, it's a little more limited, but I expect that to grow. You have the Red Team Development Operations, a Practical Guide. Joe Vest and James Tuberville are the authors of that. Joe used to work for SpectreOps doing red teaming there. And so this is a really great book. It's the Red Team Guide that was mentioned, the website. This is the book, and this is really great information. If you're building a red team, even if you're a manager, this is a good book to build your red team with. And then also hands-on red team tactics. This is a good one. This even goes into details about tools like Cobalt Strike. Then you have the Hacker Playbook 3. This is the red team edition. There's 2 previous editions that are based on pen testing, but this is more red team specific. So if you still need those pen testing skills, then I would start with the Hacker Playbook 2 and then progress to version 3. So that is the end of my talk. I've got my information up here on how you can contact me through Twitter and my email address. So I'm constantly mentoring people, and this is one of the things that I like to do in my spare time. So yeah, it's feel free to hit me up on Discord, and I can answer any of your questions.